Hello there. Hello there. Hello, welcome to Basic Binges, part of the Nom Talk network. I am your host. I am Kenji. You can call me the Kenjinator. I am enjoying, I was enjoying a nice glass of water, but now I am empty, unfortunately. I gotta make sure to stay hydrated. It's a hot day in LA. I am joined today by our guest. I have Jeromy DeChant of Heavy Metal. I have Amanda Yollin of RollinYollin. And I have Elle Kammerer, a co-host of Wit Beyond Measure. And thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Thank you so much. Let's start down the list. I started with Jeromy first. Jeromy, what are you joining us and binging us with?
Hey, so I actually just I'm on the water kick right now too, but I just finished eating and I had some chow yung rice, which is one of my favorite Chinese food dishes. So that's what I had today.
Nice, very, very nice. Amanda, how about you? What are you joining us with?
Also on the water kick. Have not eaten dinner yet, as I got an email for this about an hour ago and binge watched episode 5 real fast.
Very nice. Thanks so much for binging that instead of nourishing yourself with food. I guess the real nourishment is knowledge in the Star Wars.
Absolutely.
And Elle, thanks so much for joining us. Yes, exactly. Elle, thanks so much for joining us. What are you binging tonight?
As a true Nashville person, I'm drinking whiskey.
Nice.
I'm not on the water kick, guys. I didn't get that memo, so I got myself some whiskey.
She's on that Tennessee water. That's what that is.
Also, I like Nashvillean.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Nashvillean. I'm not sure because I'm actually from Chicago, but don't tell anyone.
For Star Wars purposes, it should be Nashville-y.
Oh.
Chillin' like a Nash villainy. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead.
Like a Nash villain.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead. Well, this show, we are on Basic Binges. This is the show where we talk about popular shows that are on right now while binging on our favorite snacks. It turns out we don't have our favorite snacks. We just have our favorite beverages. But you know what? That's just as important. So awesome. So today we're actually going to be talking about episodes 4 and 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the new Disney Plus series that came out not too long ago. I didn't get to be here for episode 2, so I think someone else hosted that. I don't know how it went. I was in a galaxy far, far away.
I was here for that.
But last week, we unfortunately weren't able to do it because our producer got lost in an asteroid field. I'm kidding. It was a global pandemic that she got caught up in. But now we get to talk double the pleasure, double the fun, 2 episodes 4 and 5 today of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And this, can I just say right now that I don't think that we have enough episodes. Like, Obi-Wan is only supposed to be 6-part series, and where episode 5 ends, I'm kind of sitting going, how is this going to end in 1 episode? This isn't enough. We need more. We need more of this show. It's extremely dense. The characters that we keep running into, and also, of course, this is a Star Wars story, so we will be losing friends as well at the same time. But, it's just an extremely dense story with a lot of ins and outs going on. And honestly, with the way that it ends on episode 5, I feel like I'm hoping for a season 2, but a part of me is also like, I don't know how you can do a season 2 of this show, but I don't know. I feel like there's not enough Kenobi for this whole series to flesh out completely. What do you guys think? Elle, let's start with you. What do you think?
First of all, I would welcome 8 seasons of Kenobi if they were to give it to us, because, oh my gosh, I've needed this show my whole life. But yeah, I feel like after watching episode 5, I just don't know how this is going to end in 1 episode. Are we going to get a 2-hour-long episode? Are we going to get an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie for the final episode? Because that's the only way I can see this working out.
No, I actually, maybe episode 6 is actually 6 and 7, kind of like how the first episode was technically speaking 1 and 2.
Maybe.
So who knows? Jeromy, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Your first initial thoughts?
I'm definitely in agreement in that I don't know how we're going to do this without an hour-long episode. And it's kind of what I'm hoping for, because I felt the same way towards the end of Moon Knight. I was like, guys, no way you wrap this up in like an hour. Like, there's just no way. You set up too much. You've strived too big. And so I'm feeling like the same going into this, especially after that last episode. I'm just like, all right, cool. We're getting ready for the part 2 of this story. And part of me is afraid that it is going to get split up into 2 parts, that we're going to get part 1, which is, the Leia rescue, and part 2 is the Luke rescue. And I felt like that's my one concern, is like, either we're going to get it all wrapped up, or we're going to get, cliffhanger, part 2 coming in whenever.
No, you know what? Now that you say it that way, they're gonna pull the sneaky sneak and split episode 6 into 2 parts. It's a Mockingjay part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Amanda, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's always frustrating because you come to expect the things that Disney does with their series and the way that they break up episodes. And I feel like they could have screwed us and left us with the cliffhanger of 5 and not had a 6th, and left us all in this like wretched anticipation. But I have no idea how they're going to wrap up a season. And I suspect that they won't. I suspect we're going to be left with a huge cliffhanger.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Okay. You feel it, and it's going to be another several years in between, like Star Wars movies. Until we get
Say that. Don't say that.
I don't think it'll be that long, the way that they've
That'll
promoted the kid who plays Luke, but I think, I think they're gonna pull a classic Star Wars, where it's like, there's more to the story.
Well, with
Or
how
it
they're
will be like-
developing, I was gonna say, with how they're like developing other aspects and other parts of the universe or the galaxy far, far away, I could see them wanting to kind of stop Kenobi and then allow there to be room for another show featuring another person, like maybe a young Luke show or something like that. I wouldn't put it past Disney to do something like that.
Hayden Christensen did say he wants a Vader series. So it may just be that we get these backstories of, young Vader, young Leia, young Luke.
I mean,
I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm not gonna watch the young Luke show. I don't need to learn how to moisture farm.
but
I will
was-
watch Young
it's
Leia all
about
day.
whining and going to Tashi Station to pick up some
Yeah.
power converters.
Yeah. I'd watch Young Leia. I mean, that seems interesting.
I would watch
I'd
the hell
just
out of
watch her
Young-
roast people all
Wait,
day.
hold on. Hold on. That also sounds really weird. I'd rather watch Young Leia than Young Luke. I just realized how weird that sounds. But like, I will say though, we haven't seen any of Luke, and I feel like this is kind of cool that we're gonna finally see Luke, because the marketing kind of teased us in a way with it being kind of showing us like young Luke and stuff, not showing us young Leia at all. And then of course we go into the show finding out, this is actually an adventure about young Leia, which kind of makes sense. But now that we're kind of bringing in young Luke, a part of me is like, is this kind of how I'm assuming that this is how Luke gets to find out about Ben? Because in episode 4 he's like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, I wonder if he means Obi-Wan Kenobi. But he so like he knows him already to begin with, so I'm feeling like this is kind of like their way of bringing in I guess a connection, so that way kind of like tying up loose ends as to why these characters know each other in episode 4. The movie A New Hope, not episode 4 of the show. I just realized this is confusing. God.
I just hope we don't end up with like a Stranger Things situation where like we started with little kids and now they're like full grown adults, and you're just like, what happened?
Oh gosh. I mean, it would. I mean, I don't know. It kind of, if they are on top of their I guess as far as like filming like the next season, I feel like if they do it fast enough, they will be able to like, we can gradually see these kids age naturally, as opposed to just having like this weird Chronicles of Narnia like jump where it's like, oh no, these children are supposed to be only a year old, even though it is 5 years later, and these children are clearly not children anymore.
Well, I know that there's some speculation with the Andor show coming out that they wanted to quickly film a couple of seasons because they can't have the actor age too much because of what happens in Rogue One. So I would imagine that Disney would probably be like, oh yeah, we should probably keep filming. And if they're gonna do more seasons or something like that, for all we know, Disney could be hiding the fact that they already filmed whatever is coming next.
Yeah, true. And I will say that I am kind of surprised that if they do end up doing like a young Luke, young Leia show, I'm actually going to be very surprised because I
Young
remember
Sheldon. Sorry.
Watching Leia go through puberty could be really uncomfortable.
Just because you mentioned young Sheldon, I could just imagine just Sheldon walking into like the Jedi Council room and just looks at Yoda's seat. That's my spot. I would be surprised if they do end up doing a young Leia, young Luke show, because Kathleen Kennedy was saying like, we're not going to be recasting any legacy characters, like we're not going to be doing young. Basically, Solo made it so that we're not going to do young versions of Han, Leia, Luke, all that jazz. We're not going to see these characters, the younger versions of them at all whatsoever. And of course, here we are seeing 10-year-old versions of Luke and Leia. So that, to quote Tyler, the Creator. So that was a lie.
Yeah.
I mean, we could end up with like young versions of Rey and Kylo Ren.
There are no rules when Disney makes the rules.
Yeah.
Well, and also it's she was very clearly talking about like, we're not going to recast them around the ages they were in the original trilogy.
Gotcha.
That's where things get a little wonky. They'll probably just keep using the special effects that they've been using for Luke in The Mandalorian and what they did with Leia in Rogue One. Because I think that it's a great idea that they recast, like to have young Leia and young Luke. I think that adding them to the show has just been absolutely brilliant. So
absolutely. I 100% agree. I will, oh gosh, you actually brought up something and I completely drew a blank. I can't remember what it was. Oh, but since we're talking about casting about these different characters, let's talk about some of these new characters that we were introduced in these last few episodes. Like, for instance, I would love to talk about her name. I think I'm probably butchering her name, is Indira Varma, the undercover Imperial agent.
Yep.
Tala.
Tala.
Like, I mean, I don't know if she was ever mentioned or brought up in any of the other expanded universes like Clone Wars or at all, but this is a great new character that we've been introduced to, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's unfortunate because a character does have to go, and it has to be a character that you have an emotional tie to. So, and it's obviously it can't be Leia, and it can't be Obi-Wan. So you just kind of gotta go down the list, and it's like, well, sorry. But I feel like she did an amazing performance. Like she kind of, she comes across as that hard ass Imperial, I guess, commander is what she is. She's an Imperial commander, and then she's able to seem intimidating that she's able to pull rank, but yet she's also at the same time this character who has an extremely kind heart, who's willing to put everything down on the line to for the path, as it were. And I thought she was just an amazing character, and it's a real shame that we won't see more of her because of the way that her character ended. How do you guys feel if there are any characters within these last few episodes that have stood out for you guys?
So you weren't here for the last episode, but on the last episode, we talked about episode 2, which introduced my favorite new character, which was the robot that we started to call Best Boy, which is the big, hunky, for no reason, very muscular robot that she is partnered with. And I was just gushing in the last episode of this, talking about how much I loved this robot and how he was quiet and silent, but he also had that wrench behind his back. So yeah, I'm sad Tala died, but I was more sad that Best Boy died, and that really got me. Like, I thought maybe he was gonna die saving her, and that's how it was gonna go down. And yeah, I think for me personally, he was one of my favorite new characters. And then the brother, I talked about this on the last episode as well. The Sith Inquisitor brother guy, I love him. I love his actor.
The third brother, Sun Kang.
Yeah. Yes.
Is he third?
I thought it was fifth.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I think he's fifth, and she's third
Fifth
sister.
Yeah,
and
third,
the other
yeah.
one is
Fourth.
Fourth. Okay.
Fourth.
It's
There's a lot of
not the
numbers.
seventh sister. The seventh sister is in Rebels.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to see two different characters playing double agent in this
Mhm.
series.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because
Well,
third
that-
sister turns out to be sort of a double agent in her own right.
And
that
I
was
just
a
want
really-
to. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I called that on the last episode where we talked about it. I was like,
I know.
I know she's got a plan and she doesn't have Sith eyes. I went on this whole rant and everybody was like, no, probably not that. And I was like, no, she just wants to get close to Vader so she can kill him. And then like this episode, it was like, yes, I was right. Sorry.
See, I didn't think that was going to happen, and it was such a nice surprise when it did, because it just makes sense with her backstory being at the temple and everything that happened to her and what she saw and had to deal with, and then realizing who Vader was. The whole thing just makes sense now, and part of me just wanted to root for her so much. Like, yeah, go ahead, kill him, kill Vader. That would be amazing. But we know that doesn't happen. Like, I wanted her to get some sort of like small victory or some sort of like revenge, but I know that it couldn't happen. That was very frustrating.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like Amanda was saying, there was that dynamic where there was two different people, and it's funny because they have that dialogue in the episode before this one where she calls her out for being a traitor and stuff like that. So like she's basically interrogating herself in that moment. So it added a little bit of levity to this episode added levity to episode 4, I think, in that regard.
Oh yeah.
We talk about that moment though in episode 4 where Tala and Obi-Wan and Leia are running across the like landing of that ship with him hiding her in his trench coat and nobody noticed.
Yeah. Let's talk about that moment for sure. Because that
nobody
so
saw
good.
the third pair of feet running like that made me so angry.
You know, you have like those helmets on and it really restricts your vision and you can't see anything. You're not paying attention because you're just like, it's hot in this helmet. I can't handle it. It's moving around my head. I mean, none of the stormtroopers are going to see it. They're just not. They're blaming it on the officers.
That was
I
one of my
love the fact that he turns around and goes, "Oh, we've been caught." Like he's surprised.
yeah.
Like,
There's
My
been a few moments like that. Like, I mean, even on that transporter through the desert, like, oh, I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm the most sought after man in the universe. Let me put on a hoodie and nobody's going to notice. Like,
Well, that's classic Avengers disguise.
the other thing that I loved, and this is a way callback to one of the first episodes of the season, is right after he gets his lightsaber and he goes to board the vessel and he like moves his cloak and the lightsaber is just hanging there. I'm like, dude, like you're supposed to be a Jedi in hiding and your saber's just out. What the heck?
Yeah.
why does he have the lightsaber though? Because he obviously cast off the Force so that nobody could find him. So did he just like magically have that lightsaber all of a sudden? Like,
Well, he
dug
there's
it
a
up.
scene he digs it up.
Oh,
in
He
there.
digs it up
right.
from the sand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a metal detector though.
yes.
He's got a good
Force.
memory. Good memory. Good memory.
The scene where they're running after they got caught is probably one of my favorite, most ridiculous moments in Star Wars, and I don't know if anybody else caught this. So they're running across, everybody's shooting at each other, everybody's like, oh my god, and for no reason No reason at all. Tala shoots the little vacuum droid that's running across the floor.
Oh yeah, the mouse droid. Yeah.
She just shoots the
Oh,
random
poor
mouse
thing.
droid, and I'm just like, what did he do?
But didn't
I had
it
the same
blow
reaction.
up the ship taking off? They
Yeah,
third sister shot another one of them that
Yeah.
blew
No,
up one of those.
she took a power core, and then she used a power core, but it's just those little robots you see in
The
Star
little
Wars.
mouse
Right.
droid. The little mouse
Robots.
droid.
Yeah,
They
and
look like
he's
little
just
rat traps
he's
on
just
wheels.
running while everybody's shooting, and she decides, instead of shooting any of these people shooting at me, I'm gonna shoot this random droid who did nothing. And it was one of the most ridiculous Star Wars moments I have ever seen in my life. And I was just like, what?
Star
I mean-
Wars is funny like that. They have all these ridiculous moments, and it's all of the movies have had ridiculous moments. All of the shows have had ridiculous moments. So we just happen to get two really great ones right in a row. And
It's interesting because you can kind of tell that like they were filming during COVID, because even in those scenes where there's 1,000 people, everybody's 6 feet apart. So like while everybody's gathered on the bridge of that ship running, like they're all distanced from each other except for those three. And there's just weird things that I've noticed throughout, different scenes, like in 5 where they were all gathered in that cave, even with Kumail Nanjiani, like they're all separated. They're not, in close-knit groups. It's bizarre.
No, it's interesting when you see like shows that have clearly been filmed like pre or even during the global situation, and like you see them go from like being like a very certain way and it being almost a completely different show. Like the second season, I mean Witcher on Netflix had the same problem for sure. Actually, but we were talking about that cave scene, and we also talked about the getaway. Can I talk about how happy I was to see Maya Erskine from Pen 15 as a as a speeder pilot? Like, for starters, it's great to see her doing something that's where she's not playing, a satirical 13-year-old child.
Yeah.
But like, I will say, like, it's also to not have her iconic like bowl cut
Yep.
is a trip to find, and it's great to, I feel like it's, first of all, it's great to see actors that we have grown to love, like, grow and do things outside of their thing, like we know them for. But then it's another thing to see them growing outside their thing, and it's Star Wars. Like, it's awesome. Like for instance, when I first saw her character being like, for the first time, I thought for sure she was going to be like that comic relief character that like every Star Wars movie show needs, apparently, to entice kids and sell toys. But like but she was like an extremely, like, for lack of a better word, she was a straight character. There was nothing weird about it. It was just a straightforward character. Nothing extremely, well crafted, lots of layers and emotions to her. Like, I'm really hoping that we actually see her in possibly the Squadron show, because she is she is a pilot, and we know that I know that's right now on ice. Patty Jenkins is having some scheduling conflicts with the filming, but other than that, like, I mean, I know that it's, full systems go for that show, so I'm really hoping that we get to see her. We know we're going to see the guy from Kim's Convenience. He's going to be one of the other pilots as well, so it'd be interesting to see some other pilots that we're going to have.
That was an interesting moment, because you see those two pilots, and one of them instantly gets blasted away, and you're like, oh, okay, next, like, moving on. Like, you have this 1 second of like, oh, I'm supposed to feel something for this character that I've never met before, and that's it. And then he's gone. And
but
that was
her character, like, she really showed the emotion of losing that pilot. And when I finally realized who she was, because when I first saw her on the show, I didn't recognize her as being from Pen 15. And then I did. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then she was just so sorrowful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much emotion here. And I know it's a really weird thing to kind of focus on, and like given everything else in the show, but that moment of like her just being sad and her, like they're zooming in on her face was just like so much emotion for a guy we barely met.
Yeah,
You know?
I would say that was my biggest complaint about episode 4 was those two deserved way more screen time than the guy who is running the whole like path operation guy. Rowan, I think his name is. They had his scene where he's like, I'm not helping you, I've got to help these people, and Obi-Wan's like, well, you should probably help me, and he's like, okay, I'm decided I'm going to help you and tell you a sad story about my wife, but give you no reason, no explanation as to why I've decided to help you. That whole scene could have just been about those two pilots, and I would have cared so much more. He could have said,
100%.
yes, I'm doing it, and we're going to have, these two, I'm going to ask them to help or something, and they're not going to do it because they're in love and they want to, do something together. Then I would have cared when that pilot died. Then that scene at the end where, and I think it was intended to be very beautifully dynamic. On one side of the ship, you had, the victory, they got Leia, that's the win, and then on the other side you had the loss, and there's that shot where they're showing both of them at the same time, and I was like, this would have been so much more impactful if we had just had 5 more minutes of those pilots instead of that Rowan guy being like, I'm not going to do it, my wife died, all right, I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to tell you why, I've just decided I'm going to help you, and my help is literally just opening up a map and telling you where it is, something that I could have easily done and it took 5 minutes. Like, it would have been so much better. That was my absolute biggest complaint about that episode, because other than the random droid shot, that was just like, I think like such a waste of potential, because again, she's great, and I recognize her a little bit more than the actor who plays Rowan, and I felt like, yeah, we needed to care about that pilot who died for the levity on the way that episode ended. And we could have saved a whole lot of time and just done that instead.
We need to feel for that pilot like we felt for Rose's sister at the beginning of episode at the beginning of episode what is it, 8? I mean, I'm sorry, like we had no idea what her name was, and yet she was the most intriguing character in the entire freaking movie. So, I mean, yeah, I 100% agree. Like there was I almost feel like there was probably something like left on the cutting room floor, and they're like, oh, hey, the big mouse upstairs says that this episode has to be, 40 minutes long. Yeah, but like it would be really good if we can have it as 46.
Well,
Big mouse says 40.
That was the shortest episode.
That was only 42 minutes.
Yeah, so they obviously something was left on the table, or those however many minutes are going to be added to the next episode, which we already talked about. But yeah, I agree. I kind of feel like they could have treated that pilot a little bit more like Rose's sister. And
one of the characters I'm really struggling with is Haja, Kumail Nanjiani, because as much as I want to like immerse myself into the world of Star Wars, he's just Kumail Nanjiani. Like it's no different than when Nathan Lane and BB Newirth did Beetlejuice on Broadway. Like they were still Nathan Lane and BB Newirth doing Beetlejuice on Broadway. I can't separate.
They should have made him an alien.
He's just Kumail Nanjiani.
Or had him be a character that wears some sort of like mask or
something.
Face something. Yeah, I agree, because I have the same problem.
Well, the humor, though, I think the humor and the way he talks doesn't lend anything to the show. I mean, the character obviously kind of goes through this very brief but arc of I'll help you, but I'm kind of this handed sneaky guy, but I'm also a really helpful guy. But you can't get into it because he's just Kumail.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. I kind of like him because the little quips where he's like, oh yeah, now I'm a wanted man, Like little moments like that, I think were good. And when he's like, "Yeah, I got attacked by a very scary Jedi lady, or Sith lady," like those little moments, I think are necessary because the show, like overall, it doesn't. They're going for a very very serious tone, and he does kind of break the tone a little bit. But I do agree that like he doesn't feel like he's playing a character. He's just kind of being the same him you see every time.
But Jeromy, is that good writing or is that him actually acting? That's the question. And that's where I'm struggling because the writing's good. I think he just doesn't have a meaningful way to separate his personality and put it into this world.
Yeah,
No,
I agree. I think like he's like the Will Smith of this is like he's always himself in everything he plays. But I think like that's also like Disney leveraging him to do that because that's what they pay. That's why they hired him. They wanted that specific brand of him. So I think the writing is fine and but I agree, like those lines could have been delivered better. They could have had a little bit more comedy, a little bit more levity if it wasn't just like the same person. Like same as like again, Will Smith is a perfect example. Will Smith in every movie. The Rock's The Rock in every movie. They're these same brand of characters that kind of get stuck into these unfortunate like tight cast versions of themselves. So again, I don't want to say that's like on him. I think part of it is Disney, paid for that, and that's what they wanted.
They've made some interesting choices with casting too, but like just visually there like and I think what Elle said, like you can't, because there's not a mask.
Yeah.
You can't separate. And like choices that they've made in some of these shows. I mean, you look at Boba Fett with those brightly colored scooter thingies that were roaming. Like I see your face, Kenji. Like I had the same. I'm like, are we watching Power Rangers or are we watching Star Wars? What's happening?
The thing is, I know the culture that they were trying to emulate in those shots. Those were supposed to be like the punk motorcycle gang kids from like the early like I'm sorry, from like the mid 80s to the 90s, like Japanese biker gangs. That's what these guys were supposed to be. Only problem is I know what you're referencing and I still don't see it. So like it was what I did see was the edge of the set.
There's so many props that have been visible throughout all of the episodes of everything.
Yeah, across the board, there's definitely been some interesting visual choices. Like, yes, the moped Power Ranger gang was weird, and could have been handled a lot better because those characters kind of exist in the Star Wars universe. Like that was a thing. It was a Star Wars thing, but it wasn't that version of it.
Exactly.
And like we talked about the episode of Boba Fett before, and I think I was on a different show for that, but like I could not be made to care about those kids at all. Like all of them could have died and I'd have been like, all right, cool.
It looked like somebody just took a marker and like painted over the cell with that, like I couldn't focus on the episode anymore. My roommate and I watched every single episode and I'm like, those are really bright colors for this
a desert planet.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna do punk, do on a desert planet, do like a steampunk version.
Yeah,
like,
Mad Max.
Like
how rich are these kids? How rich are these kids that they got all this money?
So I really liked the look of the like moped bikes and stuff. I thought they looked cool and everything, but not for the show. Like I would have loved to have seen him in literally anything else.
Well, I felt like because of the colors. Well, that's the thing. And I feel like this show actually uses its colors so well. And when you see the certain colors, you don't even have to see a building. You see the color palette and you go, oh, we're in that really dungy place in the, that was in the, like where we found Leia, where we first meet the path, when we see like an extremely warm and like extremely like almost monotone, like color palette, we go, oh, okay. We're in the desert. We're on Tatooine, and then when we see the cold and we almost see like the blue hues and stuff, we go, oh, we're in the hangar of Inquisitorius. Like we get like an idea, but unfortunately but absolutely with Book of Boba Fett, like those motorcycles, those would have fit in on Coruscant.
Or that Japanese planet where they ran,
Diane?
or the one where they took Leia to. That they did such a good job. Everybody fit in like there,
right?
But except for the guy in the purple pimp hat. I don't know if anybody saw that guy either.
No,
there's a guy in a purple pimp hat outside of the place where Leia's being held, and he's like legit, just like straight up a space pimp. And I was like,
okay,
I was like. Space pimp.
You do realize now that next Star Wars celebration, he's gonna be the new ice cream man.
That's what I'm hoping for. And I hope he's carrying around a little mouse droid that got shot. Like that's
look what they've done to my boy. They've massacred my boy.
I love droids so much, like so much. So whenever I see a mouse droid, I get happy. I'm like, oh, mouse droid.
Yeah.
And then it still hurts. It still hurts.
That's how I feel about Best Boy. When Best Boy died in this episode, it was like, I was like, come on, man, don't do this.
I can't remember his call number, and I think it
Ned.
was Rogue One was the really funny robot.
Yeah.
K2.
K2
Yep.
has been my, and I love, like, I'm wearing my little BB-8 earrings. I love BB-8, but like
Alan Tudyk. K2.
He is just, that man is brilliant, and I would love to see Alan Tudyk in this world, like
as a human, yes,
or as resident alien, just like chilling in the cantina.
Yeah, it's like a small little cameo. Just
that would be brilliant. That man can't do wrong.
I realize we've been talking this whole time, but I would actually love to know if Miss Producer Stephanie, if you would be able to chime in a little bit. Do we have anybody in the comments possibly perhaps chiming in with us, saying their what they like and things like that? I know I kind of threw this onto her, just being like, "Hey, we're talking."
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
We can hear you just fine.
Awesome. We just had Cue Ball in the chat saying like
Cue
he made some
Ball!
cheesy ramen with chopped chicken, drinking Dr. Thunder, the cheap version of Dr. Pepper.
Hell yeah.
And he did have like an off-topic question for Jeremy.
Let's go.
What if Heavy Metal did a kick-ass origin story of Vader with the animation that they're known for?
So, first off, I'm not currently representing the company in any official capacity. Two, I don't want Disney to come after me for anything at all. But if Disney wanted to pay for it, obviously, yes, we would do something like that. Their Heavy Metal is a long history of sci-fi, and we've had things like we've had Steven Spielberg in there, we've had Geiger in there, we've had a lot of influences to the Fifth Element, a lot of influence and love in the sci-fi universe over our 45 years of being in publication. So yes, we would love something like that. Do I think Disney would let us? Probably not. But yeah, we would definitely like to do like we're definitely looking at animation stuff, and if Disney wants to give me money, I won't say no to it, but I won't also say yes to anything that doesn't have a paycheck assigned to it, because I don't want Disney to come for me. Disappear one night in the middle, just in the middle of the night, I'm sleeping and you're, I heard you made a Star Wars, and then I'm gone.
Oh boy, I hope you're ready for a season. Here's a cease and desist.
Well,
Livers
there you
like
go.
through your window with a lightsaber, like just holding the note on the wall.
I'm taking you to the Sarlacc pit.
He's just scratching at your window.
Yeah.
with his mouse claws.
Yep. And then
Yeah, with his gloved hands, you still hear scratches.
Yeah.
And Jeremy has been throwing this super cute emoji that is part of his channel. It's like a little raccoon with a blue lightsaber.
So that is my raccoon, who is named Obi-Wan Kenobi, who my channel actually named. My viewers, we did a vote to name him, and then they named him that after there was like, I think there was Trash, Kevin, Tax Evasion, and Obi-Wan, and Shao Kun. There were a few different names that people voted on, and they landed on Obi-Wan, and then the person who made that emote actually did the animation for Scooby-Doo, one of the Scooby-Doo series. So
Wow, that's
Cool.
really awesome. We need to get on some premium emotes on the Nom Talk Discord. Like that would be freaking awesome. Like honestly, that is so cool. Like that the guy animated that for you. That is just too awesome.
she did that one, and there's another one of him listening to music I just put in the chat. And we're gonna get another one of him drinking from a wine glass soon as the next one for him.
This is a Kenobi, right?
Yeah, so we call him Obi for short, but on my channel he sits in the corner and he greets people and he talks to them when they come in to watch me play video games and stuff. And then so I was like, well, I gotta get if I'm gonna get an emote made of him, gotta get a lightsaber one. And then like if you hover over it, it says Jeromy, hello there is the name of the emote.
Nice, awesome, dude. Thank you so much, producer Stephanie. So moving forward, what are some things that we would like to see in the next episode? How do we want this to maybe it'll end in the next episode, maybe it's going to be a continuation, but I don't know. What are some things that we'd like to see with the Obi-Wan series before it finally rolls its final credits? Amanda, what are some things you want to see?
I need to see some of Leia's force sensitivity because I don't think we've seen a lot of that. I think there's been a few little hints here and there, but they keep talking about how they're rounding up children that are force sensitive. And we know that Leia is to some extent. So I think that that's something I want to see.
Absolutely. And Jeromy, how about you?
Well, to that point, I feel like they've been showing it off pretty good. Like with her, the way that she calls out people, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm basically reading you with the Force, but we're not going to call it that. Like when she calls out her cousin, and then when she calls out Obi-Wan. But yeah, I agree. There should be some little moments for that. And then when we were talking about episode 2, somebody was like, maybe it was her that saved herself from falling instead of Obi-Wan, because she does that float thing.
That would have been crazy.
I agree. They definitely need to give her some sort of big moment send off, and force, not acknowledging the Force part of her, which would be a fantastic way to do it. So to say what I want to see more of, I have to talk about that last fight scene. And I don't think we really touched on that, but
we did not. But yeah,
okay.
I feel like it's
we should have.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't. We got to talk about that fight scene. It was so good. The fight scene with her and Vader, and then the fight scene with Obi-Wan and Anakin that was kind of narrating the episode. I felt like that was really well done. But the scene where he takes the lightsaber from her, breaks it in half, and then throws her one half is just such a like Darth Vader Anakin moment. And I think that scene was so good. And then at the end, I was just a little frustrated for two reasons. One, there's one major inconsistency. And that's at the end, she grabs the lightsaber and it's still in one piece to where it has both ends connected. I I hate that, and I can't
Maybe
stop
it's
thinking
like
about it.
force magneted back together.
Yeah, no, it's like he broke it, and then they both used each side of it, but then it's suddenly all one piece. Even the circle part of it is one piece still.
I was gonna say, is it like Cal Kestis's where it can break apart?
I don't know, but at no point do they show it going back together. They just show her grab it, put back together when she starts to crawl, and that bothered me as far as like an inconsistency goes. But then the other thing is like, and I thought the fight was beautiful. I thought the way it ended, showing her getting hurt the same way she was hurt as a child, was really well done. She made the same face as the child actress, and I love stuff like that. But then at the same time, it's like Darth Vader knows that stabbing her in that exact same spot didn't kill her the first time. Why is he just gonna like leave her there to die again for her to come back? Like, it didn't make sense. And the part where she's explaining, like, I think this was the episode of her we needed. Like, a lot of people have been complaining about her, and I think this was the episode of her that we needed. When she's talking about having to hide among the bodies and feel them go cold, that was so deep and so dark for Star Wars that it was beautiful at the same time. But it was so good and like chilling. And then in the moment when she gets stabbed and she makes the same face and she falls to the ground and she's basically left there dying. Like, we all knew the real Grand Inquisitor was fine. We knew he was going to show up. None of that was impressive to me, but like her scene where she's down and like that whole fight scene was just really good. And so for what I want to see more of in this next episode is I almost want her to get a little bit of redemption or some sort of win out of this, because I felt like after that fight, she kind of earned it, and she was on that path. And again, I kind of called it from the beginning because she didn't have Sith eyes, and it seemed like she was too set on getting Kenobi specifically. And I felt like, if you were going to try to get close to Vader and get his guard down, that's how you would do it. So I think that was good. And I want to see some sort of redemption with her. I want to see some sort of like clear, it makes sense ending, is the other thing I want to see.
No, I feel that. I totally feel that. You ticked off a lot of my boxes too, Jeromy. Elle, what are some things that you would like to see? What are some things you want to see before this thing ends?
So if we're going off the idea that we're not getting anything more after this next episode, I want to see Luke and Ben make that connection. So then the whole, oh, do they mean Ben Kenobi line makes sense in A New Hope. So part of that for me would mean that Obi-Wan and Owen kind of have a little bit of an agreement. And maybe that's how Luke gets that toy spaceship that he was playing with and whatnot, that was referenced at the very first episode of Kenobi that we know Luke has later in A New Hope. So I want to see those connections. I want to see, because while the show obviously set us up for an Obi-Wan Luke kind of story, and we ended up getting Obi-Wan and Leia, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong, I freaking love it. I think that was the best idea Disney made. I want to see a little bit of the connection between Obi-Wan and Luke kind of starting off, so we can kind of see where that connection is going to be. I don't know how they're going to do that, given what happened at the end of this episode and everything, as we spoke about before. So that's what I want to see. I want to see those connections. But part of me really, 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 and I know this might be a little bit out of left field here, but I really want a connection to Jedi Fallen Order. Like, we already had Fortress Inquisitorius, or whatever the ridiculous name is for that place, which, can I just point out, when they're standing there over the image on the table in episode 4? And they're talking about like, oh, nobody can get in. My brain is just like, Cal is over here like, do they not see us? Like, do they not see us? Like, we got in, we got out, like hello. But I want some sort of connection to that game, and possibly into the sequel for that game, because they already hooked us with the fortress. They already hooked us with the Inquisitors. So something as small as maybe having Cal reach out to Obi-Wan at the end or something like that would be amazing. But I'm also completely obsessed with that game and can't wait for the next one. That is a true hope of mine, is that at some point we get an Obi-Wan Cal Kestis kind of meet at the very end, maybe an after credit scene or something. Just I want that connection. That is a hope for mine that I'm still holding out on. I don't think I'll get it, but I want it.
I mean, it's not a bad hope, because this is one of those situations where the voice actor and actor for that game is a well-known actor, who has been in Gotham and Shameless and so many other things he's done.
Yeah.
Well, and on top of that, Jedi Survivor is taking place at the same time as Kenobi, because Fallen Order was 5 years after Order 66. Survivor is supposedly 10 years from the rumors that I've heard. So they're happening at the same time. So the next game, Obi-Wan at the same time. The actor who plays Cal Kestis currently has the same haircut as Cal Kestis from the images we saw in the Survivor trailer. I'm just saying.
He also just got his lightsaber at Disneyland.
He did. This is like, come on. Like, this is perfect cross promotion, people. It's all about cross promotion.
I would agree that it would be great for a chance to see a character. I mean, we've already started seeing, characters like Cad Bane and stuff start to make their way into the main storylines, into the live action. So it would be really cool to see a video game character, a character that was introduced to us as a video game character, be shown to us for the first time in live action. And the thing is, it wouldn't be that hard, because it's actually a very it's a costume that you can even see being tangible in real life. So, and we've already seen, we saw the little droid,
BD1.
BD1. Thank you.
BD1.
Yeah, the little medical droid.
I know my droids.
And I wanted to say BD, but I didn't know if I was right. But we saw him in Mando. So we already have a little bit of Jedi Fallen Order there. So it would be great if we just kind of went full swan dive and we got our Cal as well. I personally would love to actually, with this show, I was so excited to finally see Hayden, like Hayden, like, out of this, like with his face, like, to be perfectly honest, when I found out that he was going to be in the show, like, I expected a lot more flashbacks, so that we would probably be seeing more, regular Anakin, because, I mean, what is he like Darth Vader is supposed to be like 6'5", 6'6", and Hayden is just shy of 6 feet. So like, I know that the whole size thing is going to be a thing. So like, I figured he was going to be in for a lot of the flashbacks. So the fact that we got one was great. I would actually love to have like that Rebels moment with Kenobi where he's fighting him and it's like that half cracked mask thing going. Like, that would be a great visual thing to see as well. But yeah, I personally think that this series is going at a great place. I would love to see so many of these characters grow. Like, I would love to see Sung Kang's fifth brother. It's the fifth brother, right? Sung Kang's fifth brother. Yeah, I would love to see the fifth brother like do more than just be pissed in the corner, Well,
he's in the animated shows too.
Is it the same? Is it the same brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we actually know how he ends, is a good way to put it.
I guess so, yeah.
So I'm rewatching Rebels right now. He's the guy that's with the seventh sister, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I didn't make that connection because he looks so different in Kenobi.
Yeah,
he's more of a green color. In the animated series, he's like a gray color with like lines on his face.
Yeah, that's him. And yeah, we talked about this on the last episode where it's like he's kind of a different person, but it's also like, oh, maybe this is part of his development between the two shows. But yeah, he's supposed to be the same person. And again, we know from Rebels kind of where his whole story goes and ends.
I'm excited to see this series doing so well after Book of Boba Fett. Because as Book of Boba Fett, it was kind of like, but as season 2.5 of The Mandalorian, it was great.
Yeah.
But I was a little worried kind of after finishing that, like, oh God, what are they going to do to Kenobi? And I'm pleasantly surprised overall.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I feel like a lot of these shows sometimes can have a tendency to like be like overfilled with too much like stuff and like too much just stuff, and it's anything productive or anything that's that moves the story forward. Like honestly, like Mandalorian had its moments. I thought it was great as our first foray into these possible new stories that we could possibly see. But I'm going to be perfectly frank. I was never a big Boba Fett fan to begin with. Like I didn't understand the allure of the character even before the prequels. So like, even the fact that he was getting his own series, I was like, oh, okay, like we're giving a character who had no character a character. So let's see where it goes.
It's funny you say that because he is like historically one of the most popular Star Wars characters. But it's true, he didn't really have a lot to build off of. I think where they messed up with that show was like not keeping his helmet on, because I felt like that is a big part of his intimidation and a big part of his like character. Whereas I thought that was my favorite part of the Mandalorian is like he kept his helmet on and like you got the actual like character and that was good acting.
Yeah.
But I'll say like one last thing that I want to see in this last episode is can we have Obi-Wan get his mojo back? I'm going to say it. It's a controversial opinion. I know he's struggling with things and that's great, but I need one coming to like moment with him. Like even during the fight with him in the flashback, he felt like a weaker version of himself. And if like he didn't take any of his traditional sword poses or saber poses, sorry. And it's just like give me one like epic Obi-Wan moment, give me that. That's what I need to end it on.
I feel like one of the story arcs for this whole show has been Obi-Wan. He, distanced himself from the Force and he's forced to kind of come back into it because he has to save Leia. But we know that in A New Hope, like he is more connected with the Force. He has to be in order to become a Force ghost later. Yoda mentions that somewhere in Clone Wars or at the end of Revenge of the Sith. I don't remember exactly. So I agree with that. I want to see him not only have his mojo, but have that moment where he really embraces the Force again at the end of this show. So then we know for the next, 9-ish years between now and A New Hope, he really is still able to connect and embrace the Force throughout that time period. So.
Yeah, because we also have that scene in Rebels where Darth Maul comes for him on Tatooine and he's old and he's like, I'm going to take you out right now to protect this child. And he does it very, very well, like very easily. He takes down Darth Maul. Like, I need that moment from this series. I need that like, oh yeah, Obi-Wan is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Can I just point out that Ewan McGregor is currently only 10 years younger than Alec Guinness was in A New Hope. So like saying Obi-Wan was old, he's only 10 years older-ish, if even. I feel like the reason why people are like, oh, Alec Guinness looks so old is because Alec Guinness had white hair. If Ewan McGregor had white hair, he'd look
it's starting to go that way.
Similar.
He would look a little
bit.
Really Obi-Wan isn't that old in A New Hope. Alec Guinness just happened to have white hair.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there. Sorry. I love Ewan McGregor so much. I don't want him to be called old.
I also will say, though, fun fact, Toshiro Mifune was originally considered for the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi after the script was based on Forbidden Fortress. And apparently his agent, I was watching this documentary on Toshiro, and apparently his agent said, it's some stupid science fiction movie. You don't want to do this. And didn't tell him about the audition. And it's like one of those things where it's like, apparently he beat the shit out of his agent afterwards and fired him on the spot because that's what he does. And but just something to think that like we could have had one of our first like proficient Japanese actors on screen would have possibly been Obi-Wan Kenobi. But anyways, on that note, that is unfortunately all the time that we have to talk about Obi-Wan episodes 4 and 5. It was actually cool. We got to talk about more than just episodes 4 and 5. We got to talk about the whole series as a whole, where we want to see it go, and we also got to compare it to some other shows on Disney Plus as well, from the Star Wars universe. Thank you so much for joining us for our podcast. If you want, you can join us on our Discord. You can join us for all that fun shenanigans that we have over there. Shout out to my guests. Thank you so much to Jeromy, Elle, and Amanda. Thank you so much for tuning in. Where can we find you guys on the socials? Amanda, where can we find you?
I'm on Facebook under this name. You can find me on Insta at RollinYollin and TikTok.
Thank you so much. Jeromy, where can we find you?
I am on all social media as Jeromy TV, Jeromy TV, and I do stream here on Twitch as well.
Thank you so much. And Elle, where can we find you?
Well, I have a podcast called Wit Beyond Measure. We don't talk about Star Wars. We talk about Jane Austen. You can find that on Instagram at WBM Podcast. But if you want to hear me talk about Star Wars, I talk about it more on my TikTok, and I'm at Elderon.
I like that. And I am the Kenjinator. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram at Kenjinator. You can find me on Twitch at the Kenjinator. I also do a Twitch stream on Sundays with my father at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we do Dungeons and Dragons. My father is DM, and I essentially play a Witcher. It's a fun campaign. I'm playing it with my friends and family. We'd love for you guys to tune in. Also, you can listen to this show on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube, our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch. And it is all under the @Nom Talk Network. What is it? Title. Yeah. Name. Yeah. @Nom Talk name. All right. No. @Nom Talk Network. There we go. So thank you so much. Tune in next week. We're going to be talking about the season finale, or maybe even possibly series finale of Obi-Wan. We don't know yet, but we would love for you guys to join us. And I think we have another show coming up this Friday with Nom Talk Review. What's this? Do we have a show this Friday, Stephanie? Friday. And what we have? Oh, we are talking about Miss Marvel, I guess episode 2 of Miss Marvel on Friday. And we will be having another show on Saturday as well. Thank you again so much for joining us. My name is Kenji. Thank you so much, and may the Force be with you. Thanks for tuning in.